Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Continuing first chapter, second section, on being aware of the circles of influence. So once I was ready to make an effort to look for an ultimate truth, the next step was to find out where my ideas and norms come from, and dare question these norms and ideas. For example, current statistics show that students spend on average 3 hours per day in school, being schooled, meaning that you include weekends and holidays. You spend 3 hours on average every day, all year long. And a bit more than that on social media. So more than 3 hours per day on social media, which involves just scrolling down the news feed on your phone. So the school and broadcasted news are 2 leading socializing factors of our times. The issue that arises from growing up with that type of socializing circles is that most of the acquired information are transmitted by a third party. So it's not something that you experience firsthand, it's something that you receive through a screen or through someone else. So whether it's through a TV host who reads a text that scrolls before his eyes, like myself, or through the teacher who follows a certain curriculum, the reported information is stamped with the perception of the one who transmits it. It's that other person's perception, interpretation that you take, that is available to you. So the chain of transmission between the one who witnesses the act and yourself is quite long. Indeed, the broadcasted news come from an unknown reporter whose agenda and ideology are oftentimes unknown. Moreover, one does not see what is hidden in the blind spot of the camera, behind that camera, for example. And being positioned on the other side of the screen with no access to the actual scene, nor to the people who convey it, your capacity to discern between truth and falsehood is quite limited. I remember, for example, I was teaching at that time in Indianapolis in an inner city school while I was doing my PhD. I was volunteering to teach physics in that school. And one of the high school students came to me and asked me during a physics lesson if the magic show she watched on television was real or not. And I was surprised. So what then of a documentary that is made abroad, that is compelling with the visuals, with the sound? How can you differentiate? In the absence of a critical sense of, or an alternative point of view, one can only absorb and take as a reference what is transmitted. You just have to take it, to trust it. So as far as the school curriculum is concerned, it is put together by a national institution that has a pre-established political program. Like you teach the kids what is useful for society later on. It has a program, it has a purpose. I, for example, always wonder why my teachers insisted on certain subjects and dismissing others. They insisted, for example, on the World War I, World War II as a French person. Why? Because we came out somehow victorious from these 2 world wars. But I never learned about colonization, about what France did in Algeria, not a word. Although it has as much impact on society today. So the goal is thus to question any information that is given to one, or at least to become aware of their implications. And fortunately, in the absence of counterexamples and critical thinking, the definitions promoted by schools or by the media becomes one's primary point of reference. That's the first knowledge you get. In order to overcome one's naivety, the solution would be to check each and every information that one receives. But you can already see the limitation of that endeavor. You start doubting everything, and everything becomes a conspiracy, and it just becomes crazy. Continuing chapter 1, the third section, realizing that trust is necessary. Unfortunately, I'm unable to verify every piece of information that I received. I should, but I'm unable to do so. And the other extreme is I cannot reject all the information that I'm not able to verify. Why? Because I wouldn't be able to live sanely. For example, I cannot afford to travel to China to check whether this country actually exists, or to check whether a researcher in his laboratory has told the truth about the data he acquired. Yet China and the researchers' results are necessary for me to understand and evolve in this world. Our life is therefore based on trust. You have to trust people, you have to trust these sources of information. Indeed, there is no need to understand the electronics architecture of a mobile phone to use it. One trusts that the teachers will transmit the necessary tools to succeed in life. One trusts that the news channel provides with an objective information. Just as one trusts that the surveillance system that infiltrates our lives are used to protect us. So from the moment that one realizes that one does not have direct access to the truth, because it's temporarily out of reach, one must accept that intellectual development is based on trust, on transposed information from a trusted source. The question of trust then becomes central. How does one acquire that trust? On what basis should you trust each other? Who and what can be considered as a credible source of knowledge? And most importantly, what kind of information should you let yourself be influenced by?